So I guess they got wanted posters up in New York and around some cities for the CEOs of different healthcare companies. We're going to see Ben Shapiro and how he reacts to this.
Over in New York, signs have been appearing with pictures, wanted pictures of CEOs, with Brian Thompson's face crossed out because, of course, he has been. Here is some footage of wanted posters of various members of the healthcare industry. Again, wanted posters with their faces on them, presumably to be murdered.
Presumably? Again, don't go murder nobody. But, you know, protest. Go outside their houses. Protest. You can stand on the sidewalk.
Again, these are insane.
Maybe while they eat, harass them while they eat.
Okay, now, how widespread is this sentiment? Well, I mean, it's widespread enough that it has made its way over into the political segment of the body politic, the overtly political. You have the cultural commentators who are sort of tangentially interested in the issue to the extent that they don't know enough about it to say. And then you have people whose actual profession is to supposedly understand the issues, being gleeful about the murder. Joy Reid, again, the least joyful person ever to be named Joy, and that includes Joy Behar.
No joy.
And she is gleeful that people are supporting the United Health CEO's alleged shooter.
Something a bit unexpected has happened following the murder. A reaction not of universal horror that a 50-year-old father of two and husband was shot dead in public, but rather of,
universal horror.
I don't want to call it glee, but let's just say not unhappiness, especially online, where the internet sleuths,
there might have been some glee out there.
Sleuths who often dedicate themselves to tracking down people accused of racist behavior in public places, criminals, including January 6 fugitives, and more, have been actively refusing to help. Donald Trump Jr., son of our incoming ruler, went on his ex-Twitter page and did the patented "Internet do your thing" post. And the reaction was mostly, yeah, no. Other popular conservatives like Ben Shapiro and anti-woman zealot Matt Walsh saw their mentions go up in flames when they tried to attack quote-unquote evil liberals for celebrating the murder of a CEO, with some of their supporters replying that they had gotten it wrong. Indeed, instead of universal condemnation, what we have seen, and many of us have heard both on and offline, has been a barrage of stories of Americans' awful experiences with insurance companies. Stories of claims denied, of people who've gotten sicker or even died because insurance companies like United refused to pay claims. Let's just be clear, there's a real hatred for these companies that is unfurling on social media right now, and also in real life, too.
Unfurling.
Okay, and part of the reason for that hatred is because you have suggested no proper solutions. By the way, Obamacare was supposed to solve all this, remember?
No proper solutions, Bernie did.
Lefties, come get your boy.
Well, Obama was supposed to pass universal health care. That's what he ran on, and then he passed Romneycare. So that was a no good thing. He passed a right-wing, what do you call it, health care plan?
Barack Obama, that guy was supposed to have fixed health care, you recall, and it got worse because of the subsidization and overregulation. Meanwhile, the White House refuses to answer if the Biden administration disagrees with the alleged shooter's reported manifesto regarding quote-unquote profit over people, which again has been a talking point of the left for a very long time. The suggestion that the profit margin is really
profit over people has been a talking point of the left for probably 200, 300, 400 years.
The problem in the healthcare industry. As we went through with regard to the charts, there are a wide variety of healthcare systems. When it comes to spending per capita, the bottom line is that as income goes up, so does healthcare spending. It's just a reality. Okay, but the White House, again, has been playing this ugly game. Democrats have been playing this ugly game as long as I'm alive. That the reason healthcare is bad in the United States, or worse than it should be in the United States, is because of those greedy healthcare executives. It is amazing, by the way, that this logic is never, ever applied.
So that dude, man, what's his name? Thompson. He made $10 million in salary last year, and then he dumped $15 million in stocks because he knew his company was about to lose $27 a share. So $27 a share. So this dude is greedy. This dude is making mad money, and he does they don't need to make millions and millions of dollars a year. In fact, $250,000 a year should be fine for most people to be able to live, man. $500,000. Like, what do you need $10 million a year for, and then selling $15 million in stocks? You got enough money. You're done. You won capitalism already. Stop.
Applied to literally any other area of human life. Nobody ever says, you know, the NBA could be even better if they paid LeBron James less. Nobody ever says that. It's only with regard to healthcare and other areas that the left cares about that suddenly the profit margin becomes
healthcare, housing, food. But yes, we don't say the NBA would be better if LeBron James got paid less. We say the world would be better if NBA players made less than teachers. If teachers made more than NBA players and football players and any entertainer, Ben Shapiro, who's just an entertainer, or a what do you call them, Hollywood actors. If teachers and janitors and regular people, the people that did the real work, if they made the most money, the world would be a better place. But no one, obviously, the NBA wouldn't be a better place if LeBron James just got paid less. Just for him to get paid less, that doesn't make any sense. No one would argue that.
It's bad. Nobody ever suggests that Bill Burr should make less money in his comedy, because obviously the profit margin in his comedy is what is driving it. It's making his comedy worse.
And some people would say that Bill Burr should get paid less. Like all comics, maybe not all comics. Some comics don't make no money, but if you're rich and famous for entertainment, that's not what we should be rich and famous for. We should be rich and famous for being the best teachers, for being the best people that give to the future of our society, not just that can make you laugh and forget about your problems. We shouldn't have so many people that can fix the problems, are the people that should be getting paid the most.
Now, here is Karine Jean-Pierre refusing to condemn the idea that the United Healthcare CEO, that the reason United Healthcare denies too many claims is because of their profit margins.
What would you say to Americans who might sympathize with Luigi Mangioni's purported manifesto indicating that insurance companies ultimately care more about their profits than the health of their customers?
So let me
just starts dancing.
Is that premise accurate in any way?
So let me just say at the top, offer up certainly our condolences to the victims and his loved ones. We are certainly tracking the latest regarding
Thoughts and
this
prayers
shooting.
So that'd be avoiding the question, obviously. By the way, it's not just Karine Jean-Pierre and the White House. It's also Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is such a disappointment of a human being. Let's talk about something that affects pretty much all of us. That would be I knew Elizabeth Warren back when she was a torts professor at Harvard Law. She was there at the same time that I was. She was a teacher, obviously, and I was a student. And Elizabeth Warren was not an...
Oh, man. What'd I just do? That's kind of silly. The commercial he just had was about tax people and not letting tax people take advantage of you. He's going to be all super serious about the healthcare people, but he's all for the healthcare people taking advantage of you, but he doesn't want the tax people to take advantage of you. Like, which businesses are you for?
Clearly has had too much of Bernie Sanders Kool-Aid. She said, quote, "This is a warning that if you push people..."
Too much Bernie Sanders Kool-Aid. If Bernie Sanders was president, we had Medicare for all, Brian Thompson would still be alive.
Hard enough, they lose faith in the ability of their government to make change. Violence is never the answer, but people can be pushed only so far. But I have a question. You're a sitting senator from Massachusetts. You're a sitting senator from Massachusetts. Seems like you might have something to do with this, a little bit. So I have a question. If they're frustrated with the system, are they allowed to assassinate you? The answer, of course, is no, nor should it be yes. And nobody should be making a but about that point. But when it comes to the left, they make that point all the damn time. There's a piece over at Politico trying to explain what exactly is going on over...
I mean, not to really change the subject, but when it comes to Israel-Palestine, he's all about killing people. Like, he'll murder a whole nationality of people.
Here, Joshua Zeitz, a Politico magazine contributing writer, and he has a piece talking about a particular theory called social banditry. He traces that to the Marxist scholar Eric Hobsbawm in 1959. He suggested that social bandits were sometimes fictional, sometimes real figures who operated outside of the law and were widely revered for their efforts to mete out justice in an unjust world, like Robin Hood, for example. Hobsbawm's theory, which historians continue to debate, rested on a fairly specific Marxian analysis of power and economic relationships in agrarian societies, but such characters transcended different geographies and times, ranging from the fictional Robin Hood in 14th century England to brutally violent real-life outlaws like Jesse James and Billy the Kid in the post-Civil War era United States to Pancho Villa in the early 20th century Mexico. So what exactly is the theory? Well, the theory basically suggests that social banditry attracts popular attention and support in rural environments where the state is weak, where peasants' long-standing prerogatives were eroding in the face of economic change, and where inequality was rampant. So that means that if you then commit individual acts of violence, you are rebelling against some sort of evil system. The problem, of course, is that that is not how the United States works. The reality is that while people might be large-scale upset with insurance companies, and I think for some good reasons because of the regulatory environment, the basic Marxian idea, which is that violence is now justified in a democratic republic because you don't like how a company is doing its business.
Violence is not the basic Marxian idea. That's the imperialist idea. How did you spread capitalism? How did your people spread capitalism? How did Israel get there in the first place? There was no Israel in 1920. It was all Palestine. And all of a sudden in 1937, 47, 37, something like that, there's an Israel. How did it get there? You didn't just go over there and shake hands and say, hey, I'd like to be here. I know it wasn't Ben Shapiro himself, but if he could have been there, he would have done it. But how did capitalism get spread? None of these Native Americans wanted capitalism. None of these Hawaiians, Samoans, nobody in the Asian Pacific, nobody anywhere wanted capitalism. You killed everybody and forced it on them.
Business. That is, in fact, as most Marxist materialism is, wrong and also morally wrong. You know, the argument here is that we don't have effective government with regard to this stuff, and that's why things aren't changing. Well, we have more regulation on the healthcare industry than virtually any other industry in the United States. We have more subsidization of the healthcare industry than literally any industry in the United States, bar none. Medicare and Medicaid comprise a huge chunk of our budget every single year in the United States. And that's leaving aside state costs. But
it's because people keep living older and older now. The older people live, the higher your life expectancy of a nation, the higher your healthcare costs are going to be because you're going to have a larger, older population or aging population.
This basic idea, and it does tear apart the country, is the idea the system is so broken that individual murder is the solution to the system. You shouldn't tolerate that particular argument when it comes to the supposed racial injustice of the United States. You should not tolerate that argument when it comes to
the supposed racial injustice. See, he doesn't give a crap about certain things, like if it doesn't suit him, he doesn't care. He's a rich CEO, so he doesn't want to see them getting killed, though. He's not a black dude, so black dudes are getting killed by cops or anybody else. He ain't worried about that. But if a Jewish person in Israel is in Palestine and gets killed, he's all worried about that. Like, are you serious? Like, that the right is so, like the far right like this, they're just so, if it doesn't happen to me, I don't care. Like Ronald Reagan, all that stem cell stuff, he wouldn't let stem cell research go through for a long time, and then he got Alzheimer's or whatnot, and then they started passing stem cell stuff so he could get some, so they could look at his brain or whatnot.
To the economic system of the United States, and you shouldn't tolerate that argument when it comes to the health system of the United States either. Again, no one is denying people's bad feelings about health insurance companies, many of which, again, I think are fully understandable. But the extension of that to, I now have sympathy with the murder of the CEO is a step beyond and has no limiting principle at all.
But I bet Ben Shapiro has sympathy with that Penny guy that killed the dude on the subway, Jordan.
It's truly ugly. Okay, meanwhile, the Daniel Penny trial is now over.
I haven't even watched this yet. That's perfect. So he's gonna let's see if he has sympathy.
The fallout, of course, is not. The left is super upset over Daniel Penny's acquittal. So Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez had the dumbest take of the day, predictably, since she's not a particularly smart human being. She suggested that people who ride subways should fear Daniel Penny, which is a hell of a statement considering that he literally saved subway riders from a highly drug-addled, deeply mentally ill, violent, threatening homeless person.
So I've talked about this a few times. Homeless people swear, cuss, they yell at nobody, and will be arguing with nobody. But they're there all day, every day in a lot of these major cities. And they don't just walk around hurting people. They will look very violent, and like it'll be scary the first time you ever see it. But if you look at them in the eyes, they'll just stop. I walked into the store just about an hour ago. There was a lady sitting there on the ground yelling at nothing, just rah rah rah. And then she stood up and was like kind of in the way of the door, and people were trying to get out the door, and she noticed, and she just like stood up and backed away and let everybody walk in and out. And I was in the store buying my stuff, and once I got in, she walked in, and she was sitting there still talking to herself as she walked by everybody. But then when she goes up to pay, she could, straighten up and pay. It's Ben Shapiro, I don't know where he lives, but he's not around enough homeless people to understand what homeless people do.
Here's Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez finding the stupidest possible take.
Actually said that he would do it again if necessary, if there was a...
Well, I mean, once you get once you kill somebody and they say, oh, you could do it, you feel like, you the man, you can do what you want now, right?
Present threat. What do you make of the comments?
Well, doesn't that, I just feel like that tells us everything. If we do not want violence on our subways, And the point of our justice system is a level of accountability to prevent a person who does not have remorse about taking another person's life. I mean, even people who have engaged in manslaughter or have taken a life accidentally express remorse. And so the fact that a person may express no remorse indicates that there's a risk that it may happen again. And if we do not want to unleash that level of violence, then we should exert a level of accountability to prevent that from happening again.
Right, but then even still, not just remorse, but like he's getting cheered. Like Ben Shapiro's probably gonna be like, "Oh yeah, he's a hero," blah, 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 blah. Right? So like, if you do bad things and people tell you it's good stuff, you're just gonna keep doing bad things.
So apparently, he should have been remorseful for attempting to stop a guy who was shouting that he was going to kill everyone on the subway.
Again, homeless people yell, "I'm gonna kill you," all the time. They do that. I don't know why. I don't know who they see in their head or who they're fighting. And it can be jarring at first. It can take you aback. But and again, it sucks that in the U.S. we have to get used to this stuff, right? We got more empty homes than we have homeless people. But once you get used to seeing homeless people, you can hear them yell. You can hear them, "Oh, F you," all this and that. And like, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? You look over, if you make eye contact, they just straighten up and they look at you like, "Yeah, I'm not talking to you." And you're like, okay, you look away and they'll just start cussing. They get like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." Like there's somebody there and there's not. But I mean, again, Ben Shapiro doesn't understand. And then back on AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she had a chance to help us force the vote. Like, what was that, 4 years ago or something like that? And she didn't want to do it. So this guy on the Jordan, gosh, I forgot his last name. But anyway, the Jordan guy on the train who needs health care. He needs medical attention. And she didn't want to pass, or she didn't want to force the vote at least. If you don't force the vote, then you're not helping us get universal health care. So you're keeping this dude on the subway rather than helping him get health care. So she is part of the problem too. Like, all you had to do was help force the vote. We would have found out who said they didn't want to, who would have voted against universal health care. We would vote them out. We'd have universal health care in 2 to 4 years after that.
You should express remorse for that. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream?
And so, yeah, Ben Shapiro's out of touch. He doesn't understand. Let's go check out his comment section. His other video had some crazy comments that were not with Ben. Let's see what this is. Sick of this left-right BS. It's all about greed, Ben. So that, like, right wing is capitalism. It's putting money over people. That's what people don't understand. Hey, Ben, LeBron James profits off of dribbling a basketball, not by denying innocent people with essential health care. There's a difference in here. So, again, like I said, entertainers, I don't think they should be the most paid people, but LeBron James is actually getting kids to want to get more, like, want to work out at least, right? Live a healthier lifestyle. So that's at least better. At least then they can avoid the healthcare system maybe a little bit more. It's not about left, right. It's about top and bottom, right? So the left is on the bottom, the top is on, or the right is on the top, right? So if you're on the left, you're for the people. You're the people. If you're on the right, you're more for the capital. You're for the money. Those are the people on the top, like the Trumps and them. I just don't understand how people don't see this. Republican here, you can act like a CEO who wouldn't piss and save a poor person, and who wouldn't piss to save a poor person and get upset they reacted. Quit spewing this as liberalism. This hurts the majority of Americans. I'm not exactly sure what he's saying there. I guess Ben doesn't read his comments. We've seen that a few times. Everything is red versus blue to this guy. Quit trying to divide. It's the people versus the corrupt oligarchs. So again, it is not red versus blue. Red and blue are on the same team. Barack Obama passed this crazy healthcare stuff. It was Romney Care before that. He passed a right-wing healthcare system plan or whatnot. I got a video up. He said, look it up if you want. Barack Obama said he's like a moderate Republican. They are the same. It is not red versus blue, and it is left versus right. It is corrupt versus people. The people versus the corrupt oligarchs. Ben doesn't care about those who don't have any money to get help, right? I mean, that's, if you ain't got money, then it doesn't matter. Stop trying to play left versus right. It's human rights to have. It's a human right to have healthcare. So that's a left wing. That's a left wing thought. If you think it's a human right to have anything, then you are taking. You're taking the work or the time or whatever from somebody else. You are stealing their goods. Let's go. All right. So let's see. Stop trying to play this right versus left. So let's go. Rand Paul slave. Check this out now. You are stealing the labor of somebody.
With regard to the idea of whether or not you have a right to health care, you have to realize what that implies.
What does that imply,
Rand? It's not an abstraction. I'm a physician. That means you have a right to come to my house and conscript me. It means you believe in slavery.
I believe in slavery if I believe in health care.
You're going to enslave not only me, but the janitor at my hospital.
So this is Rand Paul talking to this person who made the comment on the Ben Shapiro video. If you have a right to health care, you believe in slavery, my dude.
Hospital, the person who cleans my office, the assistants who work in my office, the nurses.
Conscript
if you
them,
have
all
a
he
right
says.
to their services, basically, once you imply a belief in a right to someone's services, do you have a right to plumbing? Do you have a right to water? Do you have a right to food? You're basically saying that you believe in slavery. You're saying you believe in taking and extracting from another person. Our founding documents were very clear about this.
Whoa, he's going to argue against slavery and then go to the founding documents are very clear about this? They were pro-slavery. What in the world are you about to say?
Right to pursue happiness. But there's no guarantee of physical comfort. There's no guarantee of concrete items. In order to give something concrete or someone's service, you got to take it from someone.
Does Rand Paul know who wrote those articles?
If I'm a physician in your community and you say you have a right to health care, do you have a right to beat down my door with the police, escort me away, and force me to take care of you? That's ultimately what the right to free health care would be. If you believe in a right to health care, you're believing in basically the use of force to conscript someone to do your bidding. Now, just because it's a noble thing to believe...
Let's see, do they have the whole thing here? So Bernie got to respond to him. Let's see.
Let me ask you this, in a sense, philosophical question. We've gone a little bit into philosophy today. I believe, many people in my own state believe, that healthcare is a right, R-I-G-H-T, regardless of income, that every American has the right to the best quality healthcare that the system can offer regardless of income.
This communist lefty here.
Kid, you have the same opportunity to access the healthcare system. Do you believe that?
I believe that every person ought to get good health care, and the Hippocratic Oath says that I would provide health care regardless of whether the person pays me or not. So I definitely believe that people need health care.
Give the mic over to Senator Paul.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
with regard to
saw
the idea
Paul
of whether or
go
not you
off.
have a right to health care, you have to realize what that implies.
Paul feels like he's going to be a slave.
Free access.
I think it's fair to say that Senator Paul and I have some slight philosophical differences. My profound question to Dr. Krauss is, do you, as an employee at a federally qualified health center, consider yourself as a slave?
I love my job. I chose to work there. I do not feel like a slave. Thank you.
Ms. Draper, the implication, again from my friend Senator Paul, is that we have kind of solved the problem of health care access in America, that any place in the country, I guess, anybody who has a problem, if you're on Medicaid, if you have no health insurance, maybe if you have health insurance, you just walk in the door tomorrow and find a doctor to treat you. Is that true, in your judgment?
Well, there's a huge body of literature that discusses the difficulties, particularly Medicaid beneficiaries have to finding a physician. There are many physicians who are unwilling to accept Medicaid patients, and also for those who are uninsured, face equally challenging, or maybe more so, challenging access issues.
All right, my last question is for Dr. Krauss. Again, picking up on Senator Paul's comment. As you know, Vermont is moving toward a Medicare for all single-payer approach. Are you worried that if we consider health care as a right in the state of Vermont, that the St. Johnsbury Police Department in the middle of the night is going to break down your door and force you to treat a patient? Is this an immediate concern of yours?
Yes.
No. Okay.
Oh, she said no. We couldn't hear it.
I want to thank Senator Paul for being here, and it was a provocative, interesting discussion. I want to thank...
So obviously Rand Paul's a bit of an idiot. If you know anything about politics, you know Rand Paul is not like his dad, Ron Paul. Ron Paul is a very intelligent man, very eloquent, very well-spoken, and should have been probably president at one time. I think he probably dropped Rand a couple times. Ron is not that. He's a smaller guy, so he probably wasn't. He was holding his baby and couldn't hang on too well, and let him go a couple times. Rand seems like he's hit his head a few times. But so from Ben Shapiro to Bernie Sanders, what you think about healthcare? What you think about the CEO stuff? Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.